Well, tonight I am going to be making some green crab paella. That's my little paella setup. And these are my ingredients. Um, I have a sofrito, which is between this crushed tomato that I whizzed up, some shallot and garlic. I'm going to have chicken in it. I'm going to have some fresh peas in it because they're fresh. I have green crab stock, and of course, I'm going to have some green crabs in it. Um, I have some smoked paprika. I have this really, really nice saffron here. I've been using a lot of it. And of course, I have the Spanish bomba rice, olive oil, and salt. And I'm going to start getting it ready. Well, I have my green crab paella dish going here. This is a very small one. I'm only going to be serving my wife and I. But I'm going to get the chicken and the sofrito going. Put that here. We'll get the chicken in here first. I want to get some color on this chicken before I really get anything else going. So I'm using thighs. You can use anything you want, but I find the thighs are good, especially with seafood. Put that down here. You can see my dog Nova in the background. I'm going to let these just sit for a second and brown up. What I'm looking for is the chicken to get browned and get some caramelization going that sticks to the bottom of the pan. This is not a real paella pan. It's sort of a paella pan, but there's a story behind this. This and several other aluminum anodized pans that I have, I bought just after my wife and I got married in Budapest at the IKEA store in Budapest, the first one there. And we have had these pots now for 35 plus years, and they keep going. I mean, they've been excellent. So why stop using them? And it looks a little bit like a paella pan. I'm sure a purist would be upset that it's not the exact correct pan, a true paella pan, because that is what the dish is actually named after. It's also probably not going to qualify as paella, if I'm being really honest, because this is not chicken and rabbit and the Valencian style of paella. So purist may be a little bit perturbed if I keep calling it paella, but I'm going to, because that is the shape of the dish that I'm cooking with. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but the chicken is starting to get browned. Once it gets good and brown, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the chicken to the side of the pan, and then I'm going to start making the sofrito in the center of it. One of the last things that goes in, actually, will be the green crab. It will go in shortly after I put in the liquid. Here we go. I'm just going to let this brown up now. You'll notice that my setup here is not perfectly level. That's something that I have to figure out how to get the legs to level out. And you want this level because you want the oil and the sofrito to be really kind of evenly distributed. That's going to be super important when you put your rice in, because you really want that rice to cook evenly across the bottom of the pan. So this is what my green crab paella will look like. You could put beans in there. I just happen to have the peas. Whatever's in season is really what's best. So I try to use whatever is in season. And the thing now is we just wait. We wait for those wonderful flavors to cook down and infuse in the rice. We're waiting for that green crab to exude its juices and really infuse everything with that extra seafoody flavor. It's a very, very nice seafood flavor from green crabs, by the way. If you like seafood, if you like shellfish, lobster, langoustine, shrimp, crabs, you're going to like green crabs. They're very flavorful. It's very good. So when you're eating them, you're really only eating this section right here. a little bit like maybe trying to suck the meat out of a crayfish in the South. Um, if you pull at each one of the legs once it's cooked, what's going to happen is a lot of times the meat will come out. That's one of the reasons that I half them. The meat's going to come out of the center mass of the body on the end of each leg. So, and that's a real treat. I mean, it's not a lot, but that's why you can use a lot of green crabs. So I'll keep cooking this down and show you what it looks like when it's further along. So the aroma here is fantastic. It looks wonderful. The crab is cooking nicely. Um, it's turning orange. Love that color in the crabs when it's cooked through. Um, yeah, I'm not stirring the rice for any paella purists. Um, I'm just making sure to tap the legs of the crab down just so that it gets, kind of gets in there. I'm also going to turn the pan just a little bit to kind of encourage some of the rice to cook a little bit on this side of the pan because there's a slight tilt to it, so all the liquid's going that way. I can already see around the edge right here that there's some caramelization going on. It is not cooked through yet, but it won't take long. Um, when you start to see the bubbles coming through the rice, that means that you're getting very, very close, and you'll see the edges of it starting to brown up. There's a very, very fine line between when this stuff is cooked correctly, and you have the amazing sacarat, as they say in Spain, and then when you have burnt paella. But it's still cooking right here. This side, it's not so much. The wind is kind of making it a little challenging. What I need to do on my big paella pan is, everybody that I've talked to said that the reason why I had a big problem last year when I cooked this out is, number one, because I did not have the correct regulator hooked up, so I could not increase the gas flow to this when I needed to, and the wind kept putting it out. And I did not have a skirt. I'm going to get some aluminum flashing and just make a skirt for my big paella pan and eliminate that problem once and for all. Oh, but I can see it's getting down there right now. It's looking really good. It's still bubbling, especially on this side. I can still see liquid, and that's what I don't want to see. I don't want liquid right there. So, yeah, I just want it to be just at that point where it stops bubbling through the rice. So as soon as that stops, I'm pretty much going to be done. But it's looking amazing. Actually, let me show you what it looks like. So we are just about there. You can see that all of the liquid has evaporated. I'm not seeing any bubbles. And I'm now kind of just listening. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm listening for that sizzle to kind of come down a little bit, because I want all the moisture to be out, and I want all of those flavors and oils to be fusing into a very light crust on the bottom of the pan. And that's what the Spaniards would call a sacarat. I just call it delicious. And this is one of those things that I think, with a little bit of interest from people, this is super easy to make and could become a really special part of Maine summers, having a nice paella outside with family and friends. Um, this is wonderful, by the way, with almost any kind of white wine. Dry white wines in particular are good with seafood, and they're really good with this. Although I can tell you right now, a good non-alcoholic beer is really good with this too. So let's see what we have here. Let's see if the bottom of this is gotten browned up. And oh yeah, it's not quite as dark as I'd like it, but it is, yes, it is gotten some brown going on there. Yeah, oh, right there. You can see that. That's pretty good. A little darker might be even better, but you know what? That's pretty good. So the correct thing to do is to actually mix all this together. You can see it there pretty good. There we go. I could have let that go for another 5 minutes or so, but I'm going to get this plated up and we'll see how it tastes. And there's our little friend right there. That is Maine green crab paella.
On the rocky coast where the pine trees sway, there's a new kind of catch that's here to stay. Invasive green crabs, they've come to invade.